Now it's time for Book 4 of the Mortal Instruments trilogy of the Mortal Instruments series. Book 4 is called The City of Fallen Angels. The book starts out with basically Simon's transition into being a vampire. He receives an offer from a vampire named Camille Belcourt, who is an old friend of Magnus's, and she claims to have been usurped for the New York Vampires by Raphael, and wants Simon to help her get it back. But he helps her a little bit, but he doesn't really do anything. What happens is he gets attacked a bunch more times, and each time the Mark of Cain turns them into salt and kills them. And after one of the attacks, he goes back home, and his mother confronts him about being a vampire. She didn't know before, and she's freaking out. She basically kicks him out of the house, and Simon realizes that he can't really stay there anymore, so he moves in with this guy named Kyle. And what happens is when Jace goes to the apartment and meets Kyle, he tells Simon that Kyle's a werewolf, which in fact he is. Later, it turns out Jace has been having really bad dreams where he kills Clary, and he's getting really freaked out by it. And what happens is, at one point, they're having a really intimate moment after Clary's been attacked by this demon, and Jace almost kills her with a knife. So they take him to the Silent City, and it turns out he's having these dreams because he's susceptible to demonic influence. Apparently, when Shadowhunters are born, or main Shadowhunters or whatever, they go through a ceremony, a ritual that protects them from this demonic influence. And when he died, he was basically reborn, and he doesn't have this protection anymore. So they keep him in the Silent City to keep him from having this influence, and um, until they can perform the ritual again. But what happens is when he's in there, he has a vision of Max telling him to cut himself and to get the bad part out of his blood. So he cuts his arms, and blood drains out. And it turns out this demon named Lilith, who is the original demon, has been trying to take control over him the entire time. And she uses his blood to draw a demonic rune on his chest. And basically, it gives her complete power over him. He has no control over himself whatsoever, and he escapes the Silent City. During this time, Simon is in some serious trouble because Isabel and Maya confront him and are really mad because he didn't tell either of them that he was dating them both at the same time. And so they're mad. And what happens is Maya ends up meeting Kyle, and she recognizes him as as a guy named Jordan Kyle, who is the guy who turned her into a werewolf, and she hates him, like full on hates him, because she didn't want to be a werewolf. He forced it upon her, basically just like made her something that she completely despises. Later on, Jocelyn and Luke, Jocelyn is Clary's mom, they end up getting engaged because Jocelyn realizes after all these years of being friends, she actually does love Luke, who has always loved her. And they get engaged, and at an engagement party that the wolf pack throws for her, Simon disappears. And Clary disappears because Jace kidnaps her and tells her that he knows of a rune that will bind them together forever. And she wants that. Like, they love each other. They really do. And Lilith's control over him has not affected his feelings in any way. But he doesn't draw the rune that she expected him to draw, because she's able to recognize runes, and she realizes too late that he drew a different rune, and it causes her to pass out and fall asleep and fall unconscious, and Jace carries her away. Now, while Simon was at one of his concerts, he was having a really bad time, and he had to get off stage because he was sick, because he hadn't drinking any blood lately. And that's what happens. If you don't drink blood often enough, then you go kind of crazy. And he was being followed by his band's basically one and only fan named Maureen, and he ends up biting her and almost killing her, but Kyle stops him. And now, at the party, he's being led away by Maureen, and she's now a vampire. And she is working for Lilith. And so she takes him to Lilith, and Lilith tells him he that she needs his blood in order to bring Sebastian back to life. Dun dun dun. Sebastian is dead, but he can be brought back to life. The way she sees it is the people bound to angels got to bring someone back to life, and the universe needs balance. So, the people bound to demons should be able to bring someone back to life too. And that's how she sees it with Sebastian. What happens is they go to this rooftop of this really tall building where Sebastian's body is in a glass coffin, and Lilith says, "You must bite him and drink his blood so he can be brought back to life." And Simon doesn't want to do it, so she makes Jace hold the knife to Clary's throat and threatens Simon that if he doesn't do it, she's gonna have Jace kill Clary. What happens is, Simon ends up biting Sebastian and drinking a little bit of his blood, but it's poisonous to him because it's partly demon blood, because Sebastian is part demon. And Isabel, Alec, and Maya and Jordan try to find them because they're all in the same place, and they eventually find the building, and they're looking for them. They're looking at every floor, and they find a floor where there's a bunch of these little baby demon human things. Basically, they're the product of Lilith trying to create more children exactly like Sebastian, but she can't do it. And they find one of the mothers, and she's the one who tells them this. She's basically taking human women and taking their children and injecting them with demon blood, but it's not working because they have claws and their eyes are like tentacles and whatever. It's really weird. But Clary ends up tricking Jace because he still loves her, so she tells him that she doesn't want to watch Simon being poisoned like this. So she turns around, takes the knife from him, and slashes the rune that Lilith drew on him, which breaks her hold on him. Like, she no longer controls him. And what happens is he ends up fighting back, and he tells Clary to run, but Clary doesn't do it. She goes and hides, and he thinks that she's gone, but she's not. And Lilith uses her to torture Jace. But Simon throws himself in front of her, and because he still has the mark of Cain on him, Lilith is completely destroyed. Like, gone forever. And she's the original demon. She was apparently like Adam's first wife, you know, Adam and Eve. She was like his first wife, but she was bad. So she's the original demon. And what happens is Alec and all of them find them, and then they all head downstairs to report to the Clave and tell them what's going on so they can get help. And Clary and Jace have this kind of moment where he's really ashamed of the things he's done, even though he had no control over it. And Clary reassures him that it wasn't your fault. So Clary goes down to help the others, and Jace is about to head down himself when his skin heals and the rune is come back into place. And he hears Sebastian's voice in his head calling to him. Sebastian is alive again. And because he's the son of Lilith, because Lilith is the demon that Valentine used to make Sebastian, Sebastian has a control over Jace. And he uses Jace to complete the ceremony that brings him back to life. And the book ends with Jace and Sebastian are both missing. And that's the end of the book. It's really intense at some points, and then in others it's just like get to this exciting part. But you know, it's a good book all around. And I'm sorry if you didn't want to hear any spoilers, but that's what this is all about. I'm going to be doing this with a lot of books, so better get used to it. And yeah, I hope you liked the video, guys, and that's the end of this week. Next week I will be covering the 5th book, which is the latest book of the Mortal Instruments series. So see you guys again next week. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, doesn't matter, because wherever you are,
it's all good. What can I do to get the weekdays behind me? Watsky, remind me. Thank you kindly.
Monday in the nutsack, wedgie Wednesday butt crack. I'm coming hard for Friday, and if you're not, get the back. Kick Monday in the nutsack, wedgie Wednesday butt crack. I'm coming hard for Friday.